You join us again in Cornwall for the Foxhole with Alex Fox. Hello, Alex.
Hello, Ollie. I'm here to put the butt in Butlins on our Millie holiday.
And Ollie Peart's still with us.
Hello, I'm not doing that.
There is a thematically appropriate question as this month's question of sex and relationships. It comes from Mann fan Mark, who says, Alex, my partner and I are planning an intense summer. Intense.
I love him already.
We have tickets to some bucket list weekend festivals we've never experienced before. We're planning a hiking, biking and water sports holiday, steady, with friends and family where we will camp beneath the stars. And we want to spend as much time in nature as we can as a couple. We usually work in city offices and we both think it'd be fantastic for our mental health to maximise our time together frolicking in fields and forests while the UK weather allows. So, Alex, what tips do you have to make sleeping in a tent and sleeping with each other in a tent a comfortable, sensual experience?
Ollie P, I feel like you'll have quite a lot to contribute here. You're a keen camper, aren't you?
No, I know, and I know about the tent. Like, the trouble is, being in a tent can be just a largely uncomfortable experience.
If you're genuinely alone in the woods, having an al fresco fuck must be really exciting, actually.
Yeah.
Never done it, but quite like that idea. The tent just never is. I mean, it just never is. It feels like a nice idea in theory because it's intimate, but it's hot and sweaty and a bit smelly, and you don't want to make it hotter and sweatier and smellier. That's the issue, isn't it?
Creating as comfortable an environment as you can to begin with is key to the sexiness. It's about being a good camper. From good camping comes good coitus. Starting off with, like, actually the tent that you purchase.
Yes. If you ask in Blacks, you can get one with a glory hole. It's a little known fact. It's off menu, but you need to ask.
Don't get one with the zip glory hole, though, because that can shape a bit.
And A&E is a long way away. I think from most people I spoke to, you do need to flash a little bit of cash.
Lights built in as well is also useful, isn't it, for romantic endeavours? That whole have you got a condom moment, that's awful in a tent, isn't it? If you've then got to get out your flashlight, oh shit, where's the lubricant, all that. Built-in lights, seriously, that's a genuinely useful tip.
The problem, though, with those lights is they cast shadows. So Mark says that he's going to be at festivals with loads of people around. You are inadvertently
broadcasting
creating a
Eastern European style shadow puppet show. Yeah.
I'm going to make a case for some battery-powered or rechargeable fairy lights, because I think that creates a really romantic ambiance.
Yes,
or some of those,
yeah.
those. Obviously, you can't have real candles in a tent because it's a terrible fire hazard. But those little LED ones that you can get.
Yes.
I think those would cast enough of a glow to create a wonderful atmosphere and allow you to see what you're doing without casting so much light that everybody can see. My friend Simon is a camping aficionado. He goes to a lot of big festivals and helps to build and organise many of them. He's actually not a fan of fairy lights because he says in certain contexts, if your tent looks all twinkly and inviting and is flashy and exciting,
strangers will wander in.
Strangers will wander in.
Assume you're part of the carnival atmosphere.
Yeah, you can inadvertently be sort of giving a come hither signal. Well, like many people, he said, when you're choosing a tent, go big or you'll want to go home.
Yes.
Most things that say they're a two-person tent, they're very minimalist. You can just about slip-slide two small people and not a lot else in there, so they don't give you a lot of room for manoeuvre. Being able to stand up in your tent increases the capacity for positions.
Actually, okay, so briefly on positions, actually.
Yeah.
I think there are some positions that, out of consideration for your partner's feelings, you'd be best to avoid, even if you felt like doing them. Again, that hotness, that sweatiness, I would say oral in a tent is probably a bad idea.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to wrap my tongue and my tonsils round somebody's torrid taco after a day of
3 days in with baby wipes supplied. Exactly.
If you've been hiking, you might be a bit sticky, a bit chafed, a bit. Yeah. I'm not sure that going down is high on the list of things that are coming up for Mark and his partner.
I think generally just don't be in the sleeping bag. Like, don't be under the sheet. Save that for sleeping. The fresh air otherwise circulating around the tent would be quite helpful, I think.
Speaking of fresh air, I spoke to Zachary Zane, who is not only the sex and relationships advisor for Grindr, who are actually sponsoring some festivals this summer. They're a sponsor of Mighty Hoopla, which is a good illustration of like how many people go to festivals to get laid.
Then they might want the fairy lights, right?
yeah.
Big arrow pointing this way.
Wow, wow, wow. But there is also an increasing trend of festivals actually putting on panel talks and workshops and entire tents dedicated to sex education and saucy stuff. So it's not just audiences going to meet potential partners, they're actively attending to expand their knowledge base. I got an email just this morning from a festival saying that they have got this new tent called the Xanadu tent, which is their adults only area, and a full programme of sexual talks and chit chats. Zach is also a prolific shagger. And one thing he said was all about heat. He's like, if you're in a tent, it just gets so horrifyingly hot sometimes. It's very humid, isn't it? Very, very sticky and grotty. He suggested taking along a fully charged or battery operated decent fan. But if you've also invested in a larger tent, it's better for airflow. One that came up a lot as a recommendation was one called the Coleman Octagon tent. I think it looks really beautiful as well, but it optimises the space more than a traditional kind of triangular tent. And it also allows you to sort of position yourself in multiple ways because it's sort of like, it's kind of round.
Yes.
You know?
I do actually have a suggestion on the tent thing. I told you about tents because they can be really, really expensive, but you can get second-hand, like old canvas tents from like the 70s and 80s. And if you don't mind a bit of a pain in the arse putting them up in the first place, they're great because they're canvas, like in the heat and stuff, they're actually much, much cooler than the newer tents. So you don't get the same level of sort of like them getting all hot and humid and sweaty. But they are heavy. So for a festival, it's a real pain. But if you were going somewhere for like a week and you like just wanted, you know, your own little base to have, those old canvas tents are really good. And you can pick them up for like 100 quid, 150 quid.
I imagine they're quite aesthetically
they're like designed like little houses.
Yeah.
So they've got like little windows and they've got curtains in them and things like that. Yeah, they're really cool.
They sound delightful. Yeah. I have to say, every single person I spoke to said that the inconvenience of having more to carry was worth the payoff in terms of comfort and creating a beautiful atmosphere.
Okay, so what else? What else should we be carrying? What else should we be stuffing in our backpack along with an ancient tent, a fan?
I quote, as many soft things as you can possibly fit in your backpack. If you're planning to go hard, bring as many soft things as possible.
Yeah.
Yes, they're bulky, but pillows, throws...
Things to prop yourself up with.
Yeah. Lots of people said, whatever you do, you don't really want to be sleeping close to the ground. I've actually literally slept on a bed of nails when I was in a circus extremely briefly, would you believe? And I have had camping experiences that have been less comfortable than that because it's just a really thin ground sheet and a roll mat, and it was fucking miserable. It really did kill any thoughts of passion. So something that is soft and that lifts you off the ground also helps with temperature regulation because you're not right on that cold or very hot earth. Inflatable mattresses with an automatic pump. Pop-up camping beds as well, although some of the double ones have a metal bar running vertically along the middle of them for stability. That makes things like spooning hard.
I've never even heard of a pop-up camping bed, have you? I've heard of a pop-up tent.
They've been around for so long. It's like a metal frame with like a canvas thing in the middle, and they are really, really comfortable. But I know exactly what you're talking about with that metal thing through the middle. They also, after a number of years, have a habit of ripping a bit like an old deck chair. So you could be right in the middle of it and then it would just rip.
Okay, what about, specific gadgets and products?
Splash blankets.
Right, there we go. I knew if I fished for long enough, I'd get to something completely incomprehensible. What is a splash blanket?
A blanket that was initially designed for messy sex in the home. So period sex, people who perhaps are squirters or who produce a lot of bodily fluid. You can get cooling waterproof ones that are made of like bamboo. You can also get ones that are sort of like, they're made of faux fur and they have a kind of Viking vibe to them.
Right, okay.
But they have a layer of plastic sealed in the middle of them that means that if they get wet on one side, the water will not soak through. But they're fully washable as well. They don't stain, they dry really quickly.
Sounds like you want to take one camping anyway.
Yeah, some other quick tips. Even if you don't usually use condoms as your main form of birth control, I would say it's worth bringing some. If you're sweaty, if you're dirty, there's more of a chance of, particularly if you're someone with a vagina, of picking up a UTI, which is zero fun. Plus, if you ejaculate into someone's vag, that spooge will be ejaculated back out at some point. And if you're stuck in a tent, you don't really want leakage and seepage. Or, you know, if you are active during the day, you don't want to enjoy a lovely little fuck and then find that you're dribbling spunk out during Kate Nash's latest set or whatnot.
Excellent.
I'd pack some sachets of lube as well. Again, even if that isn't something that you usually use during sex, you're likely to be dehydrated if you're outside, if you're raving or if you're doing sports all day. You might be quite chafed, you might have sunburn. Just adding a little slickness to proceedings makes things easier.
My fingers are normally covered in mud when I'm at a festival. So is there something you can do for personal hygiene before you start applying lubricant?
Very good point. Zachary Zane did say he lives and dies by the baby wipe. I think I can go one better. There is a brilliant company called Fresh Wipes.
And we've got some here.
Yeah, what we've got from them here are their body wipes. Now, these are not your average baby wipe. They're much, much bigger.
Yes, they are.
They're much more absorbent. They're also made from plant-based cellulose, and the company claim that they are fully biodegradable within 90 to 120 days if buried or composted. So they're not going to become part of some terrifying fatberg in the future. They also are laced with a chemical called chlorhexidine, which is a hospital-grade ingredient that actually gets rid of body odour.
Good, because the thing about baby wipes
shit around
is that, I mean, in a sex context, is A, it's got the word baby on it, which is not sexy to most people. B, they're designed for babies, so that whole kind of no more tears philosophy is what you want when you're applying it to a 2-year-old's bumhole. But actually, if you're clearing yourself up so that you can engage in something as a grown-up, you do want something a little bit more robust.
Fresh Wipes, it originally started designing products to help people who have had surgery or who have disabilities that mean that it's difficult for them to shower, or they might be spending long periods of time in bed and they want a little bit more than a wet flannel.
Yeah.
They also have a body cleansing foam that it's no rinse. It's like a mousse. You just squirt it out, put it on your body. About 4 to 5 pumps will clean your whole self.
I feel like I'm on QVC suddenly. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm sold.
Honestly, they are again, this is a product I'm really impressed by.
Right. Well, our camping expedition is over, or at least it is as far as you're concerned. We're going to turn the microphones off now. We've got another whole night in Penzance in a shipping container. Until next time, if you have a question of sex for Alex to answer in our July episode, what should you do with it?
Do not keep your queries contained. Instead, send them to me by going to modernman with 2 Ns.co.uk and hitting feedback.